Well, speaking of social media layered on top of politics, we had an interesting example just yesterday in Texas, where Representative Wendy
and
Davis...
another one is coming on July 1st, as it turns out. Rick Perry has just called the special session.
Yes.
Another special session.
So talk us through exactly what happened there and why it's interesting.
Well, there was a bill before a special session of the Texas legislature, which was an omnibus bill which had several controls or restrictions on abortion, and would have had as its side effect capping abortion at 20 weeks across the state and closing, I believe, all but 5 of the state's 40 or so abortion clinics, including most of the ones operating in rural areas. So it would have been nothing less than catastrophic for the reproductive rights of women in Texas. A woman named Wendy Davis, a congressperson, a member of the legislature in Texas, filibustered, and she filibustered the old-fashioned way. She stood for 12 hours and change. She could not lean on anything. She couldn't go to the bathroom. I mean, it was an amazing performance. In fact, the best, I forget who said this on Twitter, but someone said about 8 hours in to her performance, someone said, now the legislators understand what mansplaining feels like. So she did this whole thing, right? She did half a day and a bit of talking. And then at the very end, 3 really important things happened. There's a 3 strikes rule for filibusters in Texas, where if you make 3 procedural mistakes, your filibuster is considered to be over. At one point, she had someone help her come up and adjust her back brace. And that was considered an impermissible political move. It tells you what politics is like in Texas. And on 2 other occasions, she discussed aspects of female reproductive health that were not, to the eye of the chair, to the ear of the chair, relevant to the bill. So they had 3 strikes, and they were going to truncate the filibuster and have a vote. And at that point, the watching gallery erupted because this was clearly just a procedural ploy. But people were also glued to YouTube. And they were glued to YouTube because CNN was running. I mean, I don't know if you're following the blueberry muffin story, but CNN decided that blueberry muffins were really the thing that the nation needed to be hearing about right then. They've gotten out of the news business entirely, which is sort of distressing, given that it's literally their middle name, but not any longer. So YouTube is now our cable news channel.
And it was streaming the whole thing live.
And streaming the whole thing live. People are watching. So there is this group that's present there. There is this group that's present online. They're all watching the same thing. They're watching each other watch it. The group shouting down the chair keeps the clock going past midnight. But then they post the vote. And it says, the vote took place after midnight, victory for the filibuster, because the session is technically ended at midnight on that day. Then the site goes down. And then it comes back up with the timestamps changed, so it makes it look as if the vote was conducted on the day before. The people in the chamber couldn't see that change. The people online could. So it wasn't just that you needed people in the room observing the politicians work, and it wasn't just that you needed people online watching the politicians work. You needed the people in the room, and you needed the people online, and you needed them to be talking to each other. And that, it's not just the end of digital dualism, right? Real world and internet. It's really this new phase of hybridization where you had to have both people physically manifesting themselves in the space, and you had to have the virtual participation in the political conversation. We saw that happen a little bit in the Occupy movement. People were down here. People were in Zuccotti Park in New York. But there was also the We Are the 99% Tumblr, so there was a physical occupation of the spaces. Then there was this virtual, this virtual conversation that was nation and later worldwide. But the thing in Texas took that and it amped it up because it was about the procedure of democratic politics. And that hybridization, we're seeing a little bit with the vinegar protests in Brazil. We're seeing it a lot with Gezi Park in Turkey, where essentially citizen media is media, full stop. CNN, again, ran penguins. They ran a 3-part documentary on the life cycle of penguins while the Turkish police were hitting their own people with tear gas in the main square of the capital city, or of the largest city. So that hybridization now of real-world groups, virtual groups that are not only watching at the same time but watching each other watch, that's interesting and new. And it's not like anybody designed it. It was just the side effect of the other tools plus the political interest.